What's up, YouTube? Welcome or welcome back to the Saving Men's Lives Network, where all men and boys are welcome, and our issues are treated with the respect that they deserve, where excellence is our goal. A place to remind you that you are loved, that you do have intrinsic value, and to suggest that you do yourself no harm. Gentlemen, there's a phenomenon going on right under our noses here in the Western society. A phenomenon known to women as the starter husband. Basically, it works like this. There's a guy and a girl. He loves her. She has her eye on options B, C, D, E, and F. He loves her. He's devoted to her. And she's looking at her best way to cash out. It's an absolutely atrocious system that allows them to do this with very minimal downsides and almost no consequences. There's an article written in well-known leftist toilet rag Marie Claire, a highly feminist organization. They are no fan of us by any means whatsoever over there. And the few guys who do work there and support that magazine, such as it is, are the kind of guys who, let's just say, they love to order soy lattes and think that's acceptable. It's an article written as far back as 2007. Now, it's an old article. Here we are years later, but the sentiment has only grown since then. Don't believe me? Ask yourself, are women of higher quality here in the West or not since 2007? Bear in mind, Tinder and Bumble and the rest of the networks didn't even exist back then. But the article starts off like this. The starter husband. You'd never buy a car without test driving it first, right? So why settle into a lifelong marriage before trying one on for size? And we're going to come back to this, because that's a very important question that we as men need to start asking ourselves, but more on that in a moment. This article is written by Gretchen Voss, and I'm going to link down to this article in the description box below so you can read it for yourself in its entirety. I won't read the whole thing here because it drags on in places, but I want to touch on the key points because this is something that every man, especially you young men in high school, my guys fresh out of boot camp in the military, my guys who are freshmen, juniors, and sophomores in college, you need to hear this because you need to protect yourself from what's being discussed here. It starts off with a quote. I'm just really not ready to be committed like this. That's what Andy, a female spelled A-N-D-I, said to Tucker, her husband of 11 months, after she came home from a crazy day at work 2 years ago with an overwhelming urge to quit her marriage. Today. Right now. This just isn't for me. She spoke stoically. No tears, no histrionics. She had been imagining this moment since she moved out of her condo a few months earlier. But she wanted to ease him into the inevitable, to somehow tiptoe her way through the minefield of Tucker's emotions. But now, having scored a direct hit with those crushing words, she watched Tucker crumple against the dining room table. I don't understand, he said, over and over. We're married. Quote, we can do this now, or we can do this 5 years from now when it's a lot messier, Andy said, softening her voice but not her position. I want a divorce. This guy really didn't do anything to deserve this, she thought, looking at Tucker's ashen face. He must think I'm a monster. Yes, Andy, you are a monster. You are a piece of freaking garbage, is what you are. You are someone who should have said no to this man when he got down on one knee, spent about 2 or 3 months' salary on a ring, and asked you to marry him. You should have said, no, I don't want to marry you. Please stand up and dust off your knee. I'm not worthy, is what you should have said if you had any integrity. But let me go on. Watching her husband shuffle to the door of her temporary apartment, Andy felt awful. And this is the key, fellas. But mostly, she felt unbelievably relieved. I was married for like 2 seconds. That's what Andy says to me today. Her enormous cold-rimmed blue eyes crinkling as she recounts her drive-through union. It was literally an entry-level marriage. Fellas, imagine for a moment. You meet a girl, you like her. You think you see a future with her. So based upon tradition, based upon what your culture may call for, based upon what you may want for yourself, you ask her to marry you. You think you're going to grow old together, start a family, get a home, build a life the way your great-grandparents did. And she says to you, or to anyone else for that matter, she was relieved to dispose of you like a tissue she blew her nose in during cold and flu season. Incredible. Incredible. After graduating from college, Andy jetted off to culinary school. She then switched to journalism. She's a perfectly modern gal, a gorgeous mess of neuroses and contradictions, the kind who never pictured herself married at 27, divorced by 28, and remarried with 2 toddlers at age 35. But along the way, she met Tucker. He was what I was supposed to marry. He was what everyone else in my life wanted for me and wanted the world to tell me I wanted. Read that again. I apologize, because I want to make sure this point is driven home, fellas. He was what everyone else in my life wanted for me, and what the world tells you you're supposed to want, she says. I got sucked into the idea. I was in my 20s, and I felt like there was so much pressure from my family to find a perfect person. I just felt like, God, I'd be stupid if I didn't do this. Within months of promising to love and honor and cherish Tucker forever, she knew she'd made a huge mistake. And this, fellas, this right here is her reasoning for walking into the house and as plainly as asking, what do you want for dinner tonight? She told her husband, you were no longer necessary, here are your walking papers. Now, did he smack her around like a piñata? Did he have a $1,500 a day cocaine habit? Was he a heavy drinker? She told him over and over again to get help and to stop. Did he smoke in the house when she had asthma? Was he mean to her nieces and nephews? Did he have a side family across town? Let's find out. Within months of promising to love, honor, and cherish Tucker forever, she knew she made a huge mistake. The problem? His crime? He was boring. Wholly uncomplicated, as she puts it. The kind of guy who reads Tom Clancy novels on the couch and watches Adam Sandler movies while dreaming of white picket fences. Going to depressing French movies, leapfrogging over the less ambitious on the company ladder. Those were things that excited Andy. The idea of spending my life with someone like that seemed stifling, she says. It finally got to me that he was so sunny. That was his crime, fellas. He was, quote, boring. So she threw him away like nothing. With a straight face and without a second thought. How could this be? Marriage used to be such a big deal. How could she slip in and out of it so easily? She plodded along for nearly 12 months, passively aggressively avoiding her relationship by consuming herself with the restaurant openings and the black tie benefits that were part of her job. And then Tucker started about having children. He wanted kids. What guy doesn't want to have kids with his wife? But him making that request of her set off alarm bells. And I quote, "To me, once you have kids, you can't get out," she says. "When he began asking about a family, I felt that was too final of a commitment. That's when I had to say, okay, I've got to fish or cut bait here." Andy and Tucker got divorced almost a year to the day after they had vowed to be together forever. "Oh my God," she says, "it was so easy. I realized I can get out of this, and he can get out of this, and we can get on with our lives." So they sold the condo and split the profits, and that was that. She felt bad about hurting his feelings, but she never doubted her decision. Wow. Andy takes a throaty slug of her second martini, picks at her fish taco. I'm guessing that's the one in front of her on a plate and not the one in between her legs, but I'm gonna keep going. "I think marriage is the new dating, and having kids is the new marriage," she proclaims loudly, as the women in the diner turn around and stare because they can't believe what they're hearing. It's true. I wouldn't have married him if I didn't think I could get out of it. And that's where I want to stop. I'll link down to this article down below so you can read this horror story for yourselves, gentlemen. But before I go, I want to say this. I've got a lot of different kinds of guys who watch my channel, and I'm grateful you all are here. There are some women who watch the channel as well. You know what, ladies? Welcome. You're invited to stay as long as you behave yourselves. But gentlemen, this was the thought process of a woman who considered herself at the time a modern, liberated, strong, independent type of female, who got married to a guy she never loved and never cared about. She got married to a guy she didn't have any respect for because she thought society expected it of her, rather than thinking for herself. She could have saved this man the emotional heartache that comes with betrayal. She could have saved this man who thankfully never had kids with her. Thankfully, all they had to split was real estate, and they split right down the middle. He got his, she got hers, off they go. But I'm telling you right now, there is a broken man. There's a broken man walking the streets to this day. Now, I don't know where he is. I would love to get a chance to meet him and talk to him, to ask him his side of the story. I would love to sit down and talk to this man and ask him what is the damage that's been done to him. Learn this man's lesson, fellas. Do not get married in the West. There's far too much to lose. And I would state that there's very little for a man to gain getting married here in the first world. Because if women can so easily throw us away like nothing, then what point is it for us to give them something so valuable as our commitment, reinforced by a government contract called a marriage license? That said, that's my time, fellas. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to be notified when I drop a new video. Leave a comment down below. Have you guys been victimized by a starter marriage? Do you have a friend who found himself in the crosshairs or someone who wanted to trade up? I'd love to hear about it. And share this content with a friend. Someone you think could benefit from what it is that we do here. Till next time, fellas, the Saving Men's Lives Network. Plenty more to come.